Hello again. In this video, we're going to find trig function values for quadrantal angles. What's a quadrantal angle, you may ask? Well, they're the angles that are on the x and y axis. For instance, 0 degrees, right? 90 degrees is right on that y-axis. 180 degrees is on the x-axis there, right? All the way around to there. All around to here is 270 degrees, and so forth. Even 360, right? 360 plus 90, 450, and so forth. These angles need to have special attention because you cannot make triangles out of these angles. So we're going to use our 6 trig function definitions using x, y, and r. If you notice, like 0 degrees here, we're going to use a point on that line. And a point on that line could be 1, 0. And that's the point that we usually use as a reference. X is 1, you notice, and y is 0, therefore I have it written there. R is going to also be 1 because of the definition of R. If you remember, R equals x squared plus y squared. So in this case, right there, the x is 1, the y is 0, so we get square root of 1, which is 1. So there's where I get the R1. R, again, is never negative. By the way, even for like 270, right? 270 would be equal to 0 squared would be the x, the y would be negative 1 squared. It's still a 1. So R in all these 4 cases is always going to be a 1. Why is it going to be a 1? Because negative 1 squared is 1. Positive, which is square root of 1, is 1. So if you notice, all the values of R are 1 in every single case. Now, to find the definition of sine, let's try 0 degrees first. Sine of 0, if you remember, is y over r. The y value is 0, and the r value is 1. So 0 over 1 we know is 0. Cosine of 0 degrees. That is x over r. X over r, x is 1, y is 1, so we know it's 1. And since we're talking ratios, it turns out whatever reference point we used on that 0 degree line, if we use the point 20 instead of x0, as long as the y is 0, that would have been 2, and then you would have had a 2 squared here, which would have been 2. 2 over 2 would have still been 1. So it turns out really not to matter what point that you use on that line, but 1, 0 is what's most commonly used. Okay, let's continue. Tangent of 0 degrees, that is y over x. Again, 0 over 1, very similar to sine, 0. What about the 3 reciprocal definitions? Cosecant of 0 degrees. That would be, let's draw a line here so we can see that, y over r. If you notice, that is 1, did that wrong, sorry. Y over r, we do know. Okay, so let me do that correctly now. Let's go r over y. That's the real definition. I don't know why that keeps on coming up. So we have here a 1 over 0. That is undefined. There is no value for that. Secant is okay because that is just r over x. We flip this one, you still get 1. 1 over 1 is 1. And the tangent of theta, again, that one's not okay because that's x over y, and that would be 1 over 0, which is again undefined. So I'm going to end this lesson with a homework problem, which is a weird one. Let me get to the right spot. Evaluate the trigonometric function at the quadrantal angle, or state that the expression is undefined. So if it was one of those undefined cases I showed you before, you just state undefined. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to draw this. What does a negative angle mean? We haven't talked about that yet. In a video, at least. So I'm going to make a rough graph. A 180 degree starts at X, and the terminal side would be here. So negative 180, instead of going counterclockwise, which is what we do when they're positive, we go clockwise, and you go all the way to 180 degrees. So it turns out to be the same thing, but you do have to be careful because 90 degrees would be here, or negative 90 would be down here. So anyway, that's a negative 180 degrees. So we do a point, and I think of that as the X is negative 1, and we go up nothing, so the Y is 0. So we know the X is negative 1, the Y is 0. The R we know is always 1. And we're looking for cosine. The definition of cosine of negative 180 degrees, the definition of cosine is X over R. And the X is negative 1, and the R is 1. So negative 1 would be the answer. By the way, just to show you that when you type this in, you're going to type in negative 1 there. And if it was undefined, they do have a place for that. Make sure that you always, look at the directions here, because sometimes they'll say undefined is an N or whatnot. So make sure you always look at the directions. Hope that helps.